Let's talk about Toy Story 5. I feel like I've built so much of my online brand around being a huge fan of Toy Story, and that's so personal to me because I've been the biggest fan of Toy Story since I was a kid, and it genuinely does mean so much to me. These movies are genuinely my favorite movies of all time, and I kind of have mixed feelings about Toy Story 5. It may surprise you to hear. It's the least excited I feel like I felt about a Toy Story movie coming out, or at least it was, until I watched the trailer, and I think the trailer has really given me a lease of life on this. It's the same thing that happened when the Toy Story 4 trailer came out. I wasn't actually that excited about Toy Story 4 until the trailer came out and they revealed Forky, and it was like, oh my god, they actually have an interesting story to tell about toys and toys coming to life. Where do we draw the line on what toys can come to life if a spork with googly eyes on it can come to life? And immediately once I saw that, I was like, okay, Pixar, you have my trust. I believe you can make this good. And today, the Toy Story 5 teaser trailer came out, and I think it looks really good. At first, I just want to say, I personally do believe that Pixar should be making more originals. I think their original movies are good, and we have this in showing with movies like Elio that came out this year. I think we had it in showing with all of their movies that came out across the 2020 and specifically in the pandemic. They made so many good movies that were originals. And now we're very much in a run where they are going to be doing a lot of sequels. Don't get me wrong, they have more originals coming out. Hoppers is actually coming out before Toy Story 5. But the reality is, Toy Story 5 is going to make more money than Hoppers does because it's a known IP. And that's why they're making more sequels, because people go watch their sequels in more numbers. And to start this video, I feel like there's going to be a lot of negativity around Toy Story 5 and everything, just because I remember there being a lot of negativity around Toy Story 4, so this is even doubling down on that. And yeah, if you really are of this stance that Pixar shouldn't be making sequels at all, which I think is a perfectly valid stance, and don't want to watch this movie at all, go show support to Hoppers when it comes out in March, because that's the real way to combat the sequels of Pixar, is by showing support to the originals. And we're going to be talking about it here on Blue Shamus. If you haven't subscribed to Blue Shamus already, please do. We upload it every week, and yeah, you should go check that out. We've known for a while that the plot of this movie is going to be to do with Bonnie getting an iPad and the toys having to deal with that. And this trailer basically just reveals exactly that, where we have a package arrive for Bonnie, being this Lilypad, that's what they're calling it, an iPad with a frog around it. And then the toys all react shocked and scared and saddened by this. We have Rex and Slinky, we have Forky and Knifey, who they reveal at the end of Toy Story 5, 4, and there's too many of these now, I can't even remember their names. We have the Potato Heads officially returning, which is significant. I don't think it was ever a surprise, but both Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head's actors have died. At least Mr. Potato Head's actor died before Toy Story 4, so, are they going to recast them, or are they going to do what they did with Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story 4, where they just reuse old audio recordings from the earlier movies and just kind of find ways to fit it in? I didn't really love that. I mean, I get it. It's Don Rickles' character, and they don't obviously want to recast it, but in Toy Story 4, I felt Mr. Potato Head's part was really shrunk down, and he barely had any lines because they didn't have any lines to work with, and I hope they don't do that with both of them, because they're gonna have nothing to say or do, and I often think in the Toy Story movies, Mr. Potato Head's sarcasm and remarks are some of the best lines in the movie, so I just hope they recast them, and they didn't have to make this movie, but they are. And the reality is, when you make a movie series that goes on for over 30 years now, it means that you are subject to some of the actors passing away and having to recast them. That's a reality of making a long movie series. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. The other characters that we see reacting are Jessie and Bullseye reacting, the aliens are reacting, and then finally we get to see Buzz and Woody reacting, which is interesting to me because the whole thing in Toy Story 4 is that Woody does not go back with Bonnie. Woody goes on to live a life as a lost toy. And Bonnie and the rest of the gang go back to Bonnie's house and go back to do whatever they're doing. We did, as I said, already know this because he's in her room here. My question was when and how are they going to reveal that Woody is back? Because I don't really have a huge problem with it, as long as they do it well. If they have a good reason to bring Woody back into the fold, and they tell the story well, I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I don't want it to feel like a rushed, retcon at the start of the movie. And my concern is with him obviously being there, and I assume this is an early plot point in the movie, her getting this iPad, considering it's going to be one of the main clutches of the story. It feels like he's going to come back early on. And I don't know how they're going to do that effectively. And then this movie's slogan and line that they use, the big title line, is "The age of toys is over?" Question mark, which I love. I think this is the perfect story for a Toy Story movie. This is the plot for a Toy Story movie. Like, there's only so many times you can tell these heartfelt stories of the kids growing up and the toys going missing and them having to deal with the consequences of that, and we don't get bored. As good as the characters are, if you keep telling the same story again, people are going to lose interest. And what is the actual narrative that we are going down in the real world right now with toys is that kids aren't using toys anymore. Kids are iPad kids now. Like, this is well documented that this is happening right now. Kids don't play with toys as much. They go on their iPads. And it's actually not a good thing, I don't think, personally. I don't know if I'm just becoming the old man shouts at clouds. It wasn't like what it was like back in my day, but kids these days do be just on iPads. And Pixar, the company with a huge platform of kids watching their movies, is actually going to make a movie making a commentary about this. And I genuinely think this movie could make a difference. They get to tell it from the perspective of the toys, where they can very easily rationalize making the technology the villains without really stretching any part of the imagination. I assume also, following this trailer, something that kind of hadn't been revealed yet, but I feel like maybe it was pretty obvious, but the Lilypad is going to come to life. Obviously, it isn't showing the Lilypad talking or anything in the trailer, but we see its eyes open, which I assume is what happens when it comes on. But also, for them, we compare it with the poster that came out today. We can see, like, it's got very aggressive eyes in the poster, telling me, like, this is going to be just an outright villain. We're not going to, like, do, like, one of those twist villains in this movie like we've done in Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 3. No, this is going to be, the villain is right there. It's going to be the first thing revealed from the start, and that's going to be the movie. You know, it's going to be very much the toys taking on technology. We've seen the more technological and computer-like things come to life. Etch-a-Sketch is able to come alive, which is not really the same thing, but kind of the same thing. Mr. Spell is able to come alive. Like, so it wouldn't be out of the imagination for the iPad to come to life. And there's maybe an argument that how has it taken them this long to make a Toy Story movie of them taking on, like, technology and iPad kids? Because, you know, this has been the known villain of the toys in the real world for, like, decades now. A decade now. And I think it's because, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of lore here, the Toy Story movies, the first one takes place in 1995. The second one takes place around the same time, depending on how old Andy turns in the first Toy Story movie. I'm assuming it's maybe 6. Then Toy Story 3 takes place about 11 or 12 years later. He's about 17, 18 in Toy Story 3. So if the first movie takes place in 1995, Toy Story 3 is about 2007. Maybe if you want to go a bit later, it's 2008 at a push. And then we have Toy Story 4, which takes place a year after that. So again, we're getting to like 2008, maybe 2009, meaning this movie is kind of in the timeline at the start of the iPad kid revolution and generation. You know, that is where we are at in the Toy Story movie franchise. It's just taken this long to get to like 2010 in the Toy Story series somehow. And I feel like I'm leaving this feeling like, yeah, this is actually really cool. I'm actually quite excited for this. I've been trying to find a reason to be excited for Toy Story 5 up until this point, and I've kind of been like, I just hope it's good. That's where my brain has been at. I've been like, I just want it to be good. I don't want it to be bad. You know, it probably won't let me down. The chances are I'm going to like it because I do love these characters and I love all of the Toy Story movies there have been so far. So, like, it would have to be an insane drop-off for this movie to not be good. You know, it would be a drop-off for it not to be one of my favorite movies of all time. So for it not to be good would be like, we're hitting rock bottom. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more I look at this, I actually think this is, like, really exciting. I'm still concerned, like, how are they gonna bring Woody back? I hope they do it well. The only thing I feel like we really have on this is when Tim Allen spoke about the movie, and he said, Woody and I do realign, and there's an unbelievable opening scene with Buzz Lightyear's. And I think because he said these two things together, it kind of implies to me that Woody and Buzz will realign in that opening scene, and the fact he says it's unbelievable gives me confidence that, like, okay, they are going to tell this story well, and there's going to be good reason for him coming back, and it's going to be cool and fun, and I'm excited for that. With that said, I tried to go into Pixar movies blind. I don't want to know, like, too much about these movies, so I'm glad, like, this is what I know. I know that Bonnie has an iPad, and the toys are threatened by it, and somehow Woody's back in the fold, and that's kind of it. And I'm very happy that that's all I know. I'm very excited about this movie now, way more than I was before I saw this trailer, so that's the sign of an effective trailer, right? So, you know, these are my final thoughts, basically going into the movie. which I won't be going to for another like 8 months. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, has been Blue Seamus. As you can see, I'm wearing blue, which means it's a Blue Seamus video. And you can subscribe to Blue Seamus. And if it isn't too much to ask, can you just watch every single video on this channel? Especially if it's your first time and you haven't watched them yet. But if you've already watched them all, watch them again. Who's gonna stop you? There's no shame in rewatching Blue Seamus videos. You just put down a t-shirt. You can leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.